morning. My name is Sonia Nagel with Nationwide Real Estate and Relocation. Today we're going to talk about short sales and we're going to talk about foreclosures. I found that a lot of people, when they get behind in their bills, they find it very uncomfortable to talk to somebody about their financial status, and they go through a lot of fear. I'm here to tell you that when it comes to short sales or foreclosures, there's nothing to be afraid of. You're one of millions of people that have had to go through this process. You know, life happens. I have had people who had a family member get sick and they could no longer afford their home. I've had people who've gotten divorced and they could no longer afford their home. So when it comes to a short sale or foreclosure, nobody is making a judgment. The worst thing that can happen is when you stick your head in the sand and think it's going to disappear. A lot of people do that and they had equity in their home that they end up losing. Or they just lose their home and they have to wait longer to buy another property down the road. So when you're talking about a short sale or a foreclosure, what happens is when you get behind in your payments, or when you find out that you're not going to be able to afford your payments, some people are able to maintain their payments, but they've got relocated to another state, and they can't afford to live in both places. So if that's the case, what we do is we look at trying to sell the home if there's equity in it, or if there's no equity in the home and you owe more than your property is worth. Say your home's $400,000 and you owe the bank $450,000, then that would be considered a short sale. And what you do is you hire a real estate person, a realtor. I always say there's a difference between a realtor and a person who sells real estate. People who are a realtor actually take an oath to protect the public, and they're with the National Association of Realtors. So, you know, you need to get in contact with a realtor, ask a realtor if they can pull a market analysis of your house. They also call that a CMA, and what that tells us is based on the comparables in your neighborhood what your home's worth. When I say based on the comparables, I'm saying if you live in a ranch, we need to get other ranch properties. If you're in a ranch and your neighbor has a 3-story, that is not necessarily going to be a comparable for your property. So a lot of people will look at what's selling in their area, but they don't look at the actual comparable. If your house has been updated since 1953 and your neighbor's house was updated in 2019, then that's really not going to be a comparable. So the comparable and an appraisal on the property are based on the condition of the property, and there's a lot of different factors. A lot of those are upgrades. So when we're looking at comparables, we actually need to look at what is comparable to your property, not just what your next door neighbor's house is worth. So we get back to your house is worth $400,000, you owe the bank $450,000. You go to a realtor who is an experienced short sale and foreclosure specialist. I started doing short sales in 2007, 2008 when the market was nothing but short sales. I would literally print out CMAs, current market analysis, telling people what their homes were worth, and I would park my car at one end of the street and I would walk down and hit every other home. And in between those homes were homes that people already left. They just left them vacant and they left. And so those people were allowing those homes to actually go into foreclosure. When you get behind in your payments, what happens is the bank goes to the county and they file what is called a notice of election and demand. In that notice of election and demand, they're saying, hey, these people have not paid me. It could be after 3 months, it could be after 4 months, it could be after 5 months. But just so you know, if your payment is due on January 1st and you don't make that payment by January 15th, then you are considered pre-foreclosure. The day after your payment is due, if you have not made that, you are considered pre-foreclosure. So after the notice of election and demand is filed, you get on the county website what is called a sales date. And that's the date they're going to sell your property. So you do have some time that you can redeem that, but you have to get with the county to do that. If you know you absolutely cannot afford your home, then you may want to consider doing a short sale. So you pick up the phone, you call a broker like myself, and I'm going to pull a market analysis of your property. I'm going to ask you what you owe the bank. So you can look at your bank or your mortgage statement and you can tell me what they say you owe on that property. Keep in mind that's going to be a little, iffy because because certain things like your taxes are in arrears and stuff like that. So it's not going to be an exact figure. So what I do with that is I come to your house, I sit down with you, let you know again that there are several people who have been forced into doing short sales or foreclosures. If you go back to 2008, 2009, 2010, there were millions of people who could not afford their homes. What happens is people get in a hot market, they go out, they buy a house, the market changes, their price of their homes goes up, so taxes go up, they have natural disasters and insurance goes up, and people who bought at the top of their price range can no longer afford their mortgage payments. There's no shame in that. It happens to a lot of people, so, don't feel any shame in that. It does happen to a lot of people, and we're only here to help. So when I sit down at your house, I share some of my experience with you, so on and so forth, and I ask for a list of documents that I ask you for when you first call me and we set up the appointment. We go through those documents. I've heard people say that doing a short sale on your home takes 6 months. That has never been my experience because I'm not a realtor that just sits there and waits for the bank to call me. I'm on the phone with the bank every day. Every time I send them a document, most of their systems takes 24 to 48 hours to get in their system. So I call after 24 hours and I say, did you get this? Then I call after 48 hours and I say, did you get this? And then I go through every document with them again that I've sent them. Because one thing is famous is our banks do lose a lot of documents. So I stay on the bank the entire time. I list your property at a price where it's going to sell because remember, the bank is actually the one that is in the property with you. So when it comes to whatever the deficiency is, even including realtor fees, the bank is the one that is ultimately paying those fees. If you have an HOA, you want to keep that up. If you have water, you want to keep that up. Those are things that the that the bank is not going to pay off. So make sure, if you cannot afford your mortgage payments, pay that HOA, pay those water fees. Because what you don't want is to have the water shut off, the pipes freeze, bust, and then you can't sell the home at all. So talk to an attorney, talk to a tax accountant. When it comes to doing a short sale, there are tax liabilities, things that you want to make sure you talk to your CPA about to make sure they're certain and that you're covered and that that's something that you want to do with a short sale. Also, make sure that you speak to an attorney if you feel uncomfortable doing a short sale. I've seen attorneys that I've actually spoke to that said file bankruptcy, but not everybody wants to file bankruptcy. Not everybody just wants to file that bankruptcy. Some people, if they just sell their home, then they don't have to file bankruptcy. Obviously, when you do a short sale, you get no money out of your home. If you have equity in the home, then we're going to get you some money back at the closing table. But one thing is, if you have equity in that home, don't let your home foreclose. Let's sell that home. Let's get your equity. Let's get you in a position to where you're financially ahead again, and then you can buy another home. So please, whatever you do, don't stick your head in the sand. There's people out there like myself that are experienced in short sales and foreclosures. And again, I suggest you get somebody who knows how to do them. Somebody who's been around, somebody that has worked with the banks before. I know all the banks. I've called all the banks. I do VA, I do FHA, conventional loans. I've dealt with all those banks to help people get out of their home and later buy another home. So again, my name is Sonia Nagel with Nationwide Real Estate and Relocation, and if you have any questions about a short sale or a foreclosure, please don't hesitate to call me. You can reach me at 720-440-9862, and I look forward to speaking to you, and have a great day, and God bless.